Hey everyone, welcome back to my show. I'm your host, Amin Dhillon, and on today's episode, I'm sitting down with Sat, the producer. Now, he is the guy that's behind some of the biggest music videos starring some of your favorite stars. He's worked with everyone from Fall Out Boy to Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and so many other amazing artists. In fact, he's worked on over 80 music videos that have received millions of views, and his work has even got him 2 MTV VMAs. Pretty cool, right? Well, today he's opening up about his journey. He's letting us know how he got into the music industry and how he turned it into a full-time career. He's sharing the highs, he's sharing the lows, and I definitely think you're going to find his story very interesting. So let's kick it off. Here is my exclusive interview with Sat, the producer. Hey, what's up? I'm Amin Dhillon, and welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting down with the movers and shakers and the stars to chat about life, love, business, and being a total boss. It's raw, it's candid, it's the stories behind the headlines. This is In Conversation. Sat, the producer, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Thank you. It's great. It's great. Got a good workout in. Dropped my son off to school this morning, so now I'm
Yeah,
back.
so I see we're Instagram friends now.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
hey, Instagram friend. And of course, I
Right.
creeped you. You probably creeped me, right?
Yeah, I did.
Of course. So as I was creeping you, I did see lots of photos of your little guy. So
Yeah.
that was really sweet. And I was actually thinking, I'm like, he's at an age right now where he obviously knows dad works and kind of what dad's doing. I'm like, it must be really cool for him to go to school. And when kids are like, oh, my dad's a pilot, my dad's a doctor, he's like, my dad is a producer and he works with all these people that you listen to or your parents listen to. So kind of like coolest dad ever award, right?
I think once he's 4 now, so like he like he's comfortable on set, but I don't think he knows exactly what I do yet. So
Really?
it's, yeah, he's not like he knows if I say I got to work or whatever, then he knows because he's been on a lot of sets with me. So he's actually an executive producer on every project I do. So
That's
he's
amazing.
he's listed on every call sheet.
He's
So
like a little boss.
right, I was inspired by DJ Khaled. I was like, I'm gonna put my son on everything too. Like, why? You know what I mean? Before I was like reluctant to, and now I'm just like, nope, he's on
Wait,
everything.
does he get money?
No, I mean he gets money from me, but he
Oh,
doesn't.
because if he gets his own money train, I was like, hell's yeah, do
Oh,
that.
no, I take a percentage of every production and put it. I have an education account for him, so I put a
Smart.
couple percent for his towards his schooling when he gets older.
Smart.
So he'll have some money in the account.
So right now he's not at an age where when he's meeting these celebrities on set, like he's like, I'm talking to this person. Think about when he's older though, when he looks back and he'll be like just blown away, right?
I hope so. I hope he thinks like, oh, dad was pretty dope. You know, because there's like an age where kids are like, they don't care, like, oh yeah, whatever, too cool for school. But then I think when he gets the benefits and the perks of like the doors that I opened up for him, I think it'll be a cool experience for him. You know?
Definitely. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if he has an interest in working in the music industry. I mean, what better way than have a parent that's already kind of like open doors for you?
Right. I hope like if he wants to work in the music business, it's fine. If he doesn't, it's fine too. I don't care. It's just gonna whatever I'm gonna support him whatever he wants to do. But it's more of just like he'll have that chance because I didn't. So and it
Yeah.
was tough.
So
So
if he comes to you and says, Dad, I've decided to be an accountant. I am all about the tax life. You know, let's talk about taxes.
let's
You're
go.
okay.
Absolutely. Let's go. Do my taxes. Tell me where to put
Save
my
me
money.
some money. Let's do it. Trump style. I love it. Okay, so then let's get into it. So let me ask you about you. So did you have anyone in the family, anyone that was like a mentor that opened doors for you?
No.
So
No.
then how did you decide I want to work in the music industry? Where did that whole idea come from?
So the shift happened. I was living in Beaverton, Oregon, where Nike is based. So I used to live there when I was in high school, middle school and high school, first year of high school. And like I think it was 95, 96 when Tupac passed away. And so that I was a huge fan of his and it had such a strong impact on me that I was like, whoa, like I had this shift where I was like, I want to be able to impact other people in a creative space. And I didn't know it back then, but looking back now, I kind of like I had this shift where I was like, I need to work in the music business or work in entertainment. So I didn't know how it was going to happen, but then eventually we moved to San Diego. My dad was an engineer, so, or he is an engineer. So we moved to San Diego, and then I was doing other jobs, but something just kept telling me to go to LA, go to LA, go to LA. So like I would have, like, back then it was entertainmentcareers.net. I think it's still around. It's a website where you can apply for entertainment jobs. And so I used to like, and I also used to like, back then people buy CDs. So I used to look at the liner notes and be like, what's the label? What's the address? I'd Google it and be like, okay, let me find who's who. And then I would email like the record labels and be like, hey, resume or info, or who's signed to what label. And then I kept applying for jobs in LA and internships in LA. And so I did a couple of internships here and there, like randomly. And then I got an internship. I applied to every major label every single day. Like every week, I would just be sending my resume. And I had, which one was
Wait, wait,
it?
wait. Go back there. So you're sending your resume what to the general info mailbox, or are you like finding
Or
the
HR.
CEO?
Yeah, like HR, or back then, like, this is a small thing, but it's easy to implement. But basically, like, anyone that works at a record label, if you just find their name, if they work for a major, their email address is their first name dot last name and then the label. So now it's super easy, especially through LinkedIn and Instagram and whatever. It's super easy to get in touch with these people. You can just DM them, message them, whatever. But back then it was kind of like I had to like find out like info emails or HR or whatever, and then I would just keep emailing them. And one day, Capitol Records called me, and they're like, "Hey, we got your resume and you've been submitting your resume." And I was like so excited. I was like, oh, they're going to call me in for an internship.
Yeah.
They're like, can you please stop applying? Because we have your resume and every single day you keep applying for these jobs. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I hung up.
No, you don't say that. I go, yo, give me a job and I will stop applying.
No, so like she was just one person working with the label. I'm not going to pay attention to her. So literally what happened the next day, I applied again. I was like, I don't care what she thinks. So
Exactly.
but then I finally got a call back from Interscope. Interscope gave me a chance. I interned for Interscope, but I was living in San Diego. So I would drive, and also I just graduated from school. So they were only taking interns that had college. You had to get college credit for it. So I went to my local community college, signed up for the internship programs. I paid for my internship technically. And then I drove Monday at morning. I would leave at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., get to Interscope by like 8, 9 o'clock, and then I'd be there all day. And then I had a friend that used to let me crash on her couch. And then I would be there all day Tuesday. And then I would drive back Tuesday night. And then I was working 2 part-time jobs in San Diego at the time. So I was like doing that. I did that for 4 months straight. And then I was just interning. But then that's when, like, this was 2005 or 2006, and this is when like Napster and Bearshare and all these things started coming in, and then the labels started falling apart and losing a lot of money. So people were getting fired left and right. So, and whoever had their job was trying to hang on to it with everything. So labels weren't hiring. So then I interned right next door. I got an internship at Epic Records for the A&R department, and the building was completely empty. There was like 3 people in this massive building because people were like let go or fired or whatever. So then I barely did any work interning over there, and then there's nothing going on. So then I got an internship for a production company that mainly like started. This is when YouTube was fresh, around 2009, and they started creating content. And they, so basically like a DJ who ran the production company would play the record on the radio station, and then he would like do something with the label or consult with the label, and he would get the content. So then we used to produce all of the content interning over there. And then I heard they fired the assistant, and I overheard one of the partners in the company talking. So I walked in and I was like, why don't you guys hire me? And then they're like, oh, okay, well, you have to work like 2 months full time for free. And then,
What?
yeah,
How's
it
that
was pretty,
legal?
it's not, but it was one of those things where I was just hungry for it. So I didn't care. I was like, okay, cool.
I know,
So
but
that,
geez, take advantage much?
oh yeah, this is one of those. prime examples of like one of those situations. So I feel like kids are way smarter now, like 22, 23 years old. They don't put up with that. But um, I interned for 2 months. That was a Friday, and I packed up all my stuff Sunday at my parents' house in San Diego, and then I drove there Monday morning, and I started interning there full time, and I didn't have a place to sleep. So what I did was I had a third cousin or second cousin, my cousin's cousin, and they lived in Cerritos, which is 25 miles away. So I used to commute from Cerritos to there. I used to sleep there, and then the gas was killing me, and they weren't paying me. So I just said, I was like, the office was like a house, so and no one was there. So I said, hey, is it cool if I sleep here? So there was a studio in the back, so I slept in the studio for like a month. There was a shower there, so I used to just shower. There's a kitchen. I'd make my breakfast, and like I'd be trying to sleep sometimes, and then the recording, so I'd go sleep in the living room, and it was rough. It was a rough time. There's been times where I was crying myself to sleep, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Exactly. Because it sounds like how do you survive and do all that with no money?
Right. And so this
Zero.
this is what I was doing. So I mean, I was like, whatever I can get my hands on, I was selling. Whatever I can get my hands on. So I used to like when I interned at Interscope, they used to throw a lot of CDs away. So they used to throw boxes because they used to have promotional CDs. So the UPC would have a hole in it. So they send them to the radio stations and whoever to promote the records, but then they can't sell them. So they would give me the boxes and be like, here, throw this in the trash. So I'm like rolling them, and I open them up, and they're brand new albums of like Black Eyed Peas or uh, Pussycat Dolls or like Keisha Cole or whoever. And I'd be like, I'm keeping these. I'm not throwing them away. So I took them, and then I sold them on Amazon. So I'd flip them for like $3 a piece, $2 a piece, and then the shipping. So I would make $2 a CD, $3 a CD. So I'm technically making more money than the artists themselves on their own albums. I made like $1,000, $1,200, and then I got boxes of clothes that they would like get rid of or promotional stuff. So I'd take it and they don't sell it. So I'd flip them on eBay for $30, $40 a piece. So I'm making like $1,000, $1,200. So anything I would get my hands on, I would just flip. So sometimes I get headphones from the company that I used to intern for, and then I would sell those online or sell them to me, whatever. So I used to just like figure out ways to just basically get by. And then to save money, I slept at the studio, and then they finally started paying me. I think my first check was like $1,200.
For after 2 weeks or a month or what?
After 2 months, they gave my first check. I was on payroll. I think it was like $1,500 a month or something like
That's
that.
it.
Right. So this was in 2010, and I was working full time on call 24/7, 7 days a week. And then they started getting a lot of content. So I was basically the in-house producer. I was producing all the projects. So I was doing 4 or 5 music videos a month. And so I was working with Snoop, or I'd work with like, Exhibit or
Wait,
Cypress.
Sat. Just explain what does that mean to say you're producing when
Basically it's like, so the producers are like the business side of the business and the logistical side in the creative space. So in the creative space, in entertainment, every part of entertainment, there's always two sides. There's the creative, and then there's the business side of things. So like an artist has a manager, right? A director has a producer. Like there's different like dynamics. So producers, what we do is we put a budget together, we put all the logistics and the tools together for the artists to create what they want to do in their space. So like a director would give me a project and say, hey, I have 20,000 for this production. I need you to produce the project for me. Creatives don't want to handle like casting, and for an artist to paint a picture, I will supply the canvas and give him the tools for him to paint, or him or her to paint. So then they can create their stuff, and they don't have to worry about anything. So that's what I do. So if like a production requires locations and cars and extras and camera gear and lighting and I take care of all that stuff. Like artists, directors, creatives don't need to worry about none of that stuff. I flush everything out, make sure everyone gets paid, make sure we have location agreements, production agreements, paperwork, invoice, balance the budgets, hire the crew, have PAs, have crafty, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then organize that chaos, prep it. We do a 1 day shoot most of the time. It's 12 to 16 hours, sometimes 20-hour shoots, and then that's it. We go home. This is a really small company, so I was doing everything. Like I was literally, me and one other guy in the company were pretty much responsible for all of the production coming out.
So
So
you're not getting paid and you have such responsibilities.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, so the first project when I was still interning, and technically I produced, but I didn't get produced. I think I got producer credit. I don't remember.
Mhm.
Was "Tie Me Down" with New Boys and Ray J, and that song went #1 on MTV when MTV was playing music videos. So it did really well, and then I was there for like 20 hours. I drove from San Diego from like 4 a.m. or something, and I drove back to San Diego that night at like 2 a.m. So it was like a 24-hour day for me, and I didn't get paid, but I learned. So I did the casting, I did the paperwork, I was writing out checks and doing all that stuff. So it taught me like, oh, okay, this is what it is, but I just didn't know what I was doing exactly. The title was, and then eventually I got to learn, oh, okay, this is what a producer is, and da da da. So yeah, so I was turning out a lot of music videos for them. I like they kind of just threw me in. They're like, all right, after the first project I produced, they're like, all right, you're doing everything. And because my boss at that time, she went by the title as an executive producer, but she didn't know what the fuck she was doing. She just wanted me to figure it out. So I did all the work and she took the credit. So, but anyways, in saying that, I turned out like 4 or 5 videos every month, and I worked for them for about close to 2 years. And then um, one of the most successful projects I helped produce was like a G6 with Far East Movement. That was during that period. So that song kicked off. That gave me some credibility as an individual, even though it was for a company I was working for. But then after that, I kind of like went into the space of trying to figure it out on my own. So I didn't know if I wanted to produce, but I picked up some projects independently, and then I was like, all right, I want to start my own company. So I started my own company, and then within a year, like I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just like bad business, and I didn't know how to like manage things and do things
Wait,
properly.
wait, go back though. So when you're producing, were you like, yeah, this is because music has so many, the music industry has so many different roles. So were you
Right.
like, yeah, this is what I meant to do? Or were you like, I need to try other jobs or, going into a different field?
Hmm. I think what I was doing was I was kind of trying to do everything. So I was like, oh, I could do marketing. Oh, I could do production. Oh, I could do this. So I kind of wanted to do like a creative company, but I didn't know how to manage a business. I didn't know how to bring in clients. I didn't know how to talk necessarily to people. I knew how to produce, but I didn't know how to executive produce. Executive producers are the ones that either have the money or bring in the money or deal with the clients. So, and bring in the business. So I didn't know how to do that. And so in that year, I had a lot of personal things going on too that I was just kind of like, I kind of like crashed and burned really hard for about a year, went broke. And then I just struggled for a couple years trying to like figure out, okay, let me work management. So because I worked with Snoop and Far East Movement, they had the same management company. So I hit up their manager and I said, hey, do you guys have any openings? So they just called me in and they're like, this is your interview, but we're not really interviewing. We already know you. So like, you're already hired, but we just want to see what you want to do. So I was like, oh, let me try management. So I was the day-to-day manager for YG, Mystical, and Snoop's daughter Corey at that time for a few months. But then like it didn't. I don't think it was. People were really like the Snoop and the people were really cool, but I don't think it was a good fit for me as a team, and I didn't know necessarily what I wanted to do yet. So and I don't think management was for me, but I wasn't sure. So, anyways, I got let go with a few other people because we were all new and they were like downsizing and stuff and changing things. So they let me and a couple other people go. And then a friend of mine who worked in the electronic space on the management side, he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm starting this new company. Are you down to like work with me?" I was like, "We can kind of build this into something." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I worked with him and he said, I'll teach you the ropes of artist management because I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't really learn much at the other company, and that's not their fault. That's more mine. And so I worked with him, like trying to build this, like, I didn't know much about electronic music. So I kind of like started listening to a lot more. And then I started learning like management and then business and like how to like deal with clients and just certain things. So while I was working with him, I still needed to make money because it's commission based. Whatever you bring in is what you eat off of. Management's like 15-20% of commission off of, people making money. So uh so what I did was a friend of mine had a job as a driver, as like a chauffeur in Beverly Hills. So he was just telling me how much money he was making because he made a lot of money off tips because they drive like high profile clients and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I need a part-time job. Can you like get me in? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I went over, did a quick interview, and they hired me. And then so I was like during the day, I'd be morning and day, I'd be at this management office, and at night I would be driving clients. So I drove like Priyanka Chopra. I drove like um, some Bollywood actors. I drove athletes. I drove like big celebrities. Whatever. I didn't care. It was just I just needed to make money. So while I was working for that job, I met Tommy Hilfiger and his ex-wife, and his ex-wife got a liking to me. So she's like, hey, she would like call me directly every single day. She'd be like, hey, come pick me up here. Hey, come blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you can't call me. You got to call the company. She's like, fuck your company. I'm not dealing with them. I'm dealing with you. I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I would call my boss and be like, hey, she keeps calling me. Like, should I take, yeah. She's like, yeah, go ahead. Just take the car or whatever. So I started working with them for a couple weeks every day. And that was kind of like, all right, I'm getting burnt out from this driving job because I was already there for maybe like 10 months or something, and like working during the morning, afternoon, not sleeping. Sometimes like the drives would be like super long, super late. I'd get in, wake up, go back to the office. I was just like, I'm going to be quitting the driving job. So uh, if you want, you can hire me directly. And then so she's like, oh, okay. So uh, the next day I started working for the Hilfigers, and it was pretty dope. It was a really cool experience. I worked for them for about a year and a half, and I was just like working at their house every day, like just managing the home, like hiring employees, firing employees, and I learned a lot in that process. So it was fun, and then they paid me fairly well and took really good care of me, and was able to get out of debt. And like I had the repo man after my car. Like I used to sleep in my car sometimes. So I was like, the struggle was real. But then they helped me financially, and I was making money with them. And then they offered me like a full-time situation, but I turned it down because I told them, I said they offered me a six-figure salary, uh, and then
To
I
do
told
what?
so basically it was basically like a house manager or like running their home, and because I was with his ex-wife all the time, so like with their kids and running errands and just taking care of whatever they asked me to do. And um and then I turned it down. I said, hey, like unless it's like a full-time career, then I'd be open to it. But if it's not like a job, or if it's a job, I don't want to take it. But if there's a career opportunity, I'll consider it. So then she's like, all right, well, what about, well, she offered me 100,000. And I was like, I appreciate that, but I was like, I think I'm gonna hold off. And then she's like, what about 200,000? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, holy shit. Like I
Yeah.
was like, I've
That's
been
probably the
offered
most
this.
money you've ever made. Hello, you went from
Right.
making no money to now getting 200,000 to manage a house?
Right. But my response was the same exact thing. And I told her, I said, look, I really appreciate you valuing me that much. But I was like, if there's not a career opportunity, then I don't want to do it. Then she's like, okay. She's like, well, think about it. And I was like, all right. I left, and I was like, I didn't sleep properly for a couple months after that because I was like, did I make the right choice? I was like, that's a lot of money. So,
Wait,
but
at this point though, like you had paid off your debt, you weren't sleeping in your car, you had a place of your own. So please tell me you didn't turn this down while you're sleeping in your car, right?
no, 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 no. Yeah, I had an apartment and stuff. Like
Okay, good.
but I
Because
had
I feel like
roommates.
everyone is going to email you. I know you turned out okay, but people will be like,
Yeah,
why, man?
yeah. No, no, no. It was. Yeah, no, it was fine. It was a situation where I knew what I'd be signing up for, and I knew it would take me away. Because she told me, she's like, I want you to like walk away from the music stuff and focus with me full time. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And yeah, I didn't sleep properly for a couple months. But then fast forward looking back now, I made the right decision. Um, So, but yeah, so then that was that. And then I ended up kind of like walking away from the job about a year later because it was just time for me to move on. And they took care of me really well. And what was cool though is that I hit Tommy up and I was like, hey, can I get a recommendation letter from you? So my recommendation letters from Tommy, which is pretty dope. So then what happened was uh I I went broke again. Um,
No.
in 2000, this was 2014. I was struggling because then I started getting back into kind of production and kind of trying to figure it out. I'm like, management isn't for me. Like, I hate babysitting because artist management is like babysitting sometimes. Like, you have to deal with an artist on all their shit, not just like the cool times, but a lot of the dramas and all the stuff that goes on. I was like, man, I got enough of my own stuff I got to deal with. So I pretty much focused on trying other things. And then I ended up 2015, end of 2014, I had a good relationship with Circus Records, which they're a big drum and bass label from the UK, because they would always contact me because I was cool with them. I met them through working management, and I ended up convincing them. I said, "Hey, would you guys like? What if I was like your A&R rep out here in LA, and I could bring clients and talent, and bring like artists on board to like get on records and blah blah blah." So then they're like, "Okay," like, and this was literally end of 2014. I remember this because I think I had $200 in my bank account, and I was living in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and I didn't have money for rent. My rent was only $800, and I was like, shit. I was literally so stressed out, and my friend owned the property, so he was just like, "Hey man, are you gonna pay the rent?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, just give me like 2 weeks," because I was like, I'm waiting for a check to come in. I didn't have any money coming in. I just didn't know what I was gonna do, so I was like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure this out. So I convinced the label. I said, "Hey, why don't you guys hire me?" So then they Zoom called me or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, all right, we're gonna hire you, and we're giving you a $3,000 bonus check to welcome to the team." And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." I was like, "Thank you guys so much." They wired the money, and as soon as I got off the call, I was just like so emotional. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "All right, I'm not gonna mess this up." So uh, I cried. And after I cried, I got some groceries and I paid my rent. and then I started working as an A&R for Flux Pavilion, Dr. P, Cookie Monster, who recently passed, and Funcase. I didn't work with Funcase too much, but anyways, they're drum and bass artists in the electronic space. And then 2015, I produced a couple projects that year too. I produced, but the one that kind of took things off, or like I produced Uma Thurman for Fall Out Boy. That one, we won the Best Rock VMA for that year. So then at the end of 2015 was the first year I actually made pretty much 6 figures on my own, working for the label. I got a salary from them, but then I started hustling outside using my relationships to be like, yo, let me do marketing for this brand, or hey, I have these artists I have access to where I can get into these events. I'd hit up brands and be like, why don't you pay me? So I had this I had this I had a couple companies like pay me to get product to artists and stuff. So I convinced them. So I made money doing that, and then I made money producing some projects. So end of 2015, things kind of started slowing down. So label was like, hey, like, we can't afford to keep you on anymore. And I was like, okay, no problem, because they gave me a salary, but I made double the salary outside on my own. So I was like, yeah, so I was like, okay. I was like, it's cool because I can figure out now how to make some money. So I met Troy Carter at the end of 2015. He broke Lady Gaga and Eve and, a lot of artists. And I had a meeting with him. I picked his brain on, like, I was asking his advice. I'm like, look, this is where I'm at. This is who I am. What do you think I would recommend I should do? And he told me 2 things. He said, look, he's like, you're doing all these different things and you're making money right now. I get that. But he's like, things are going to fall through the cracks. So he's like, just focus on one thing, become great at it, and then move on to the next thing. And then he's also, based on your personality, I can see you doing well as a manager or as a producer. So I was like, okay, cool. So beginning of 2016, I decided, I was like, all right, and I just had my son now too. So I was pretty stressed out in terms of like, okay, now I got to take care of a family, and I'm just going to start my own company. So I started producing in 2016 on my own, and then I produced uh, Let It Bang for ASAP Ferg and Schoolboy Q. And then I started like kind of hustling and making calls with directors or hitting up labels and being like, hey, I'm a producer if you guys need any production, blah, blah, blah. So, and I'd hit up like local businesses. I would go to Google and be like, what's a nightclub or what's this? And so there's a nightclub in Hollywood called Avalon. So they do events every week. So I convinced them, say, hey, let me do your production on your bigger shows 2, 3 times a month. I convinced them to pay me $1,000 for like 3 events, which is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd split that with a friend of mine. I'd give him halves because he'd shoot it with me. He'd edit it. I'd shoot it too. And then just to build that relationship. So I was like trying to pick up any work I could get. And then so I got that. And then I just started grinding. I just started meeting people, networking, saying, hey, these are the things I've done if you ever need a producer. And then so things started to kind of come in that way. And then I think end of 2017 is when things started really picking up steam. 2018, I think it was 2018, 2017, 2018. I started, ironically, I forgot how it happened, but one of the label commissioners at Interscope hit me up and they said, hey, I have this production. I have this director that needs a producer. Are you interested in jumping on? And I was like, sure. And the song had Gunna on it. And I was like, okay, dope. I'd love to do it. So I produced it. And then I started building my relationships with Interscope. And then like my name started circulating internally within the teams, being like, hey, this guy's a really good producer. So all the other commissioners would start hitting me up then internally. And then other directors would hear about me, or they'd be like, hey, we need work or whatever. And because I had the management and the label relationships, I would hit them up saying, hey guys, I'm focusing on producing right now. If you guys have production, please let me know. And I was cool with everybody. I never had like bad relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
So it helped, and that just started kind of bringing in more work for me. And then, ironically, the head of the video department over at Interscope now, ironically, was the lady I was interning for in 2005.
Oh yeah.
She was an assistant back then, and now she's the head of the department. So it was crazy. Like, wow. Like I remember getting her coffees and like, filing her papers and doing all this and that stuff. And then I swung by Interscope last year because I can come through anytime just to say what's up. So I just come by and like say hi to them. And I saw her, I think early last year, and she was like, oh my God, Sat, great to see you. Da, da, da. Man, she's like, you're killing it for us. Like, how big is your team? I was like, you're looking at it. It's like me and one other person. So I was like, we're producing everything. She's like, wow. She's like, that's crazy. I was like, it's so good to see you and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's a full circle, and came back around. So they're a good client. I work a lot with the Interscope now, and I work with Atlantic Records I worked with, and RCA and Capitol. And yeah, that's how things kind of started happening.
I know you've kind of summarized it, but what a journey.
Right.
What a journey. I got to ask you, during those early days, though, when I was listening to you tell me the story, I was like, you had such, it wasn't just like 6 months, it wasn't a year of just bad luck or whatever. You
Right.
repeatedly went broke. You had for years,
Huh?
didn't really have what I call stability. And I'm
Right.
like, it could have been very easy for you to be tempted to say, hey, let me go get something, right? It could be from a girlfriend, it could be from the family, it could be just internal pressure to be like, I no longer am okay with this instability. But you continued on, and obviously it paid off. During those
Right.
times, though, what did you do, or what kind of helped you kind of keep the faith, I guess, and say, hey, I know it's still hard times. I don't know what the future will bring, but I kind of feel like this is my path. Like I gotta keep going.
Well, because every time I did something different, I felt, and now again, now I understand it. I felt misaligned. I didn't feel aligned. I didn't feel like I went to job interviews. So after I got the Tommy recommendation letter, one of my first interviews was with to be assistant for Benny Medina. Benny Medina manages J-Lo, right? And he co-produced Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the writer and all that stuff, and like he's huge. And like I went in for the interview, and then I interviewed also with Nicki Minaj's management company. I managed to be one of her assistants. I interviewed over at Maverick to be an assistant to like not the weekend, but their like team. Um, and I just kind of remember feeling like I'm like I even interviewed at like CAA and other places, and I'm like I don't belong here. And I was like I don't it doesn't feel right working for somebody else and reporting to somebody else. So I think like I've had my moments where I was like can't do this shit anymore. Like I can't, like it's frustrating. But then every time something told me like I cannot go back home with my tail tucked in between my legs. Like my parents told me, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you even pursuing in music and blah 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 and all that stuff? Why don't you be like your brother and do real estate and all this stuff?" And I was just like, "No." I was like, "I'm not going home." I was like, "I'd rather sleep in my car. I'd rather like I was so broke. I used to like go to Starbucks and like if you get a coffee, it's $2.20. I used to buy the coffee, but the refill is like 50 cents. So I used to like buy a cup and then use the cup the whole week just to refill and then pay 50 cents for coffee instead of $2. Or like I would go to the bathroom there, shave my head, wash up real quick, and then go to meetings. Or like go to 24 Hour Fitness, shower there, and then go to meetings. Like I was so like it was bad. But my it's like I don't know. I can't really say. I had this inside of me where I'm just like I'm not giving up. I refuse to quit. It's just like there's stubbornness, there's a way to like, and then there's also resilience. And I feeling like that there's a calling for me that um I just can't do it. Like I rather die than fucking I'd rather live in my car and struggle than go back home. I'm not doing that. So and my parents weren't in a financial space to help me. I didn't have help at all. So it wasn't like, I'd sleep at friends' houses or couch surf or, do stuff like that, whatever I could do. And I used to sign up for at Veggie Grill, this vegetarian restaurant. I used to like, they give free birthday meals. So I used to sign up different email accounts and get free food from there, and go to different veggie grills and do whatever I could to survive. So to answer your question, I don't know. I just get like, who am I? I don't know. I don't really have an answer for it, I guess, but it's just inside of me. I just couldn't do it. I refuse
Yeah.
to.
Because,
So
with everything that's happening with COVID, especially, a lot of people are kind of in that boat where they had everything working for them and it was taken away, or, like so they're starting off their careers and unfortunately internships are getting canceled, or even still the music industry is struggling, right? And so I just feel like there's so many people out there that may be in your shoes or where you used to be. And I just wonder, like, how does one person know what the right thing to do is? That's the thing I think we all struggle with, just knowing, like, you have outside pressures, you have your own image of what your life should be like. And then it's like, how do you figure out what path to go on? I'm always fascinated by
uh,
that.
I think there's no right or wrong way of doing things. The thing is like you just need to do what works best for you. Excuse me. You need to do what works best for you because ideal scenarios of like it's like workout plans or like dieting, right? It's like certain things are going to work for certain people. No, there's no like universal, like, okay, this works for everybody. It's like you need to figure out what is for you. If you want to be a teacher or you want to be a dentist or whatever it is, that's okay. But then, or an accountant, like you said, like that's fine. But then focus on that and do what's right for you, not what you think other people want for you. Like my parents wanted me to do, you know, like put it down my throat for the longest time. Like I had job offers for stable jobs, for cubicle jobs in San Diego. I had a really good offer from Qualcomm and I walked away from it. And I'm just like, I don't belong here. And when fast forward to now where I'm like, I get the opportunity to create with creative people and give them a safe space to create their vision, and we put it out to the world, I think for me is really, um, it feeds my soul. More recently, I realized that I'm able to give opportunities to other people that I didn't get before, and or only a couple people maybe really did give me opportunities, but I had to fight for everything. And especially being East Indian, like parents and friend pressure and all this other kind of stuff, I was just like, I said, forget all that. I'm not paying any mind to it. I need to do what's best for me. And I think once you realize, you just align with what you need to do, also, and then adapting too. Adapting is on figuring out, okay, the marketplace right now is, this is where we're at. COVID hit. Okay. So now we got to figure out what else can we do. I took a couple months. I stayed home. I enjoyed myself, to be honest. Like, I didn't stress. I stressed a little bit, but I lost, 40, 50,000 in business in like a week, 2 weeks. But I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. And I was in my apartment for 3 months, 4 months. I didn't leave my place, and except for the grocery store. And to be honest, I loved it. I love being home and by myself or with my son. So, um, but then it came to like, oh, okay, now it's time that, like, now work is coming back in. I'm getting hit up for projects again and all this kind of stuff. So it's just about adapting to the marketplace, the workplace, and figuring out, like, instead of like having 20 people crews, now we have 6 people crews, but we just wear multiple hats. So there's still ways to do it. You just got to figure out, like, this interaction. We could have done it in person, but now a lot of people are doing Zoom calls and stuff like that. So it's just adapting to figuring out, like, you can't blame what's going on outside. You just got to figure out what you need to do to figure.
Absolutely. By the way,
Yeah.
I feel like everyone that will be listening to this conversation, I feel like they're gonna say you're a true hustler. Like the stuff that you're telling me, I'm like, I feel like if you didn't have that hustle mindset to be like, okay, how do I adjust? How do I make, like, even for you to figure out, hey, let me take the stuff that they're gonna throw away and make a couple extra bucks on the side, like that is like looking for opportunity everywhere. That is a hustler mentality.
Oh yeah. I used to buy like cell phones and like jewelry off of Craigslist and then flip it.
Yeah.
Like I met this guy off Craigslist, and he had like 3 phones, and I was like, how much you selling all of them for? And I forgot what it was. I was like, all right, I'll give you this. And he's like, all right. I took those and I flipped them the same week for like double. I bought like jewelry before. I bought watches. I bought a Cartier watch for like 800 bucks off this guy. Literally 2 days later, I flipped it for like $2,200 to somebody else. So it's just about like figuring out ways on, like, okay, how can I still survive? How can I make money? You know, and also keep your expenses down. You know, like, don't waste your money on junk.
Of
Like,
course.
my money is on my car note, my apartment, and food.
But also, it sounds like you need a rainy day fund because you never know when that rainy day is going to come, right? So,
Exactly. You need a pandemic fund.
let me ask you, you've done so many cool projects, you've worked with so many cool people, but I'm sure you've got kind of like a bucket list, like goals, right? You have for yourself. So, are you maybe right now working on something or working towards something where it's like the dream project, the dream team? Can you kind of tell us what it would be?
Dream artist. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to work with The Weeknd. I want to do something for him. I know
Oh,
people
that'd be
from
cool.
Yeah, I really want to work with The Weeknd. I'd love to do something with um I think Two Chains would be fun to do something with. I feel like we'd get along too, just because he's super smart. Um,
And you're talking about producing for them, right? Producing their
yeah,
music video? Yeah.
yeah. Producing projects for him on the creative side of things. I mean, this is a childhood thing, but I'd always wanted to work with DMX even since I was a kid. I was a huge
Yeah.
fan. I still listen to him today. Um, who else is my dream artist? I'd love to work with Nas. I actually have people from his, I'm friends with people from his camp. So I keep nudging his day-to-day manager. I'm like, yo, get me something, get me something. So I'd love to do something with Nas. Big Sean, I'd love to do something with as well. I think those are like probably my ideal artists, my top five. Probably I want to do something with. So I'm working at it. I say give it like within 1 to 2 years. I put myself like, my goal inside my head was, I was like, I got written up in Rolling Stone and some other like
Hmm.
stuff, but I want to get written up in Billboard, uh, GQ India, and then one other magazine. I forgot what, but I would like put that out there. I'm like, I want some article or something where I'm just like, at least just just so I want to be, because I'm more like behind the scenes, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very low key. I'm not big. Like you probably saw my Instagram. It's basically me working or me and my son, and that's all, you know. So it's not. I'm very like more behind the scenes, and I like it that way. But I just want to be responsible for some like cool projects as
Yeah, it
well.
all kind of connects together. That's why there's so many
Right.
opportunities, right? And it really sounds like you really made your own opportunities. Like that's what I'm taking away from all this. I'm like, yeah, you interned, you were doing the whole like let me apply, let me get in there, but once you're in there, the connections you're making, building your name, I'm like that's what it takes. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. That if
You're right.
you have a dream job, you know what you want to do, you can't just wait for someone to like recognize it or to put together an application for it, right? Like you gotta like create the opportunities yourself.
Yeah, like this is probably one of the things I've been really like focusing on recently or thinking about a lot is like simplicity is key because then we complicate things and it destroys or it like demotivates you.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple. Like you heard this saying, build it and they will come.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's literally that simple. Like build your own shit, do your own thing, and let them come to you. And I feel
Yes.
like that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. Like I'm still building. I'm still meeting new people. I'm still, hey, how can I help? Hey, how can I be of service? How can I help? Even if I'm not on projects, I'll still help give advice. I'll be like, hey, try this or here, go here or da da da. It's about creating the opportunities and also giving back because the information, like I truly believe is like you can the more you help, the more things are going to come back to you. And I
Mm-hmm.
think because I'm good with everybody. Like I don't have like my people might call me, oh, you know, he could be an asshole sometimes, or he could do this or he could do that. But no one will ever say I've screwed them out of money. I've always paid everybody. I've
Mm-hmm.
always made sure followed through with people. Like I genuinely care. Like I care about the project. I care about the people involved with the project. So, um, you know,
And those are things people can see.
yeah, oh, 100%. Because it's
Yeah, people will
when it's not
recognize that.
authentic, 100%. When it's not authentic, like you could tell, like it's fake, like this pretending. So with me, like when I vibe with somebody, doesn't matter. I don't care who they are. Like I was talking to somebody about a shoot this morning, and like we booked a location, and after the guy was such a nice guy and so helpful. At the end of the shoot, he told me it was his birthday, like the day before or something. I got him like a week later. I sent him like a really nice bottle of whiskey, you know, because he told me
Oh,
he drinks whiskey. And it was just as a thank you. I might never see the guy again, but it doesn't matter. It's the fact of like, wow, thank you for being so kind and allowing us to create in your space that let me just give you a small thank you. And like when we dropped it off, he called me, he said, oh, thank you so much, man. He's like, small things like this go a long way for me. I appreciate it, you know? Just like giving back to like appreciating people even in small gestures, I think is really important. And they don't forget it, you know?
great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Of course.
Appreciate it. And what a crazy story, honestly.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
what a
yeah.
ride.
Thank you for taking the time out, and I appreciate you. And look forward to hearing more and talking to people. So
Cool. All right. I hope you enjoyed the exclusive chat with Sat, the producer. I told you at the beginning of this interview, his story is incredible. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you want to see more interviews like this, you know what to do. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a single thing. Also, be sure to give this video a like and leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you in my next interview.
De que gobiernan y controlan nuestra tierra hipnotizado con su juego mental y limitando nuestro potencial como ser humano, no dejando que lleguemos, no quieren que seamos, quieren mantenernos controlados. Babilón, ¿qué pasó? Los que tienen el poder, tienen el futuro en su mano, el mundo que está cambiando. ¿Acaso el humano será capaz de cambiar el microchip que le han implantado? Baila muchachita, baila muchachito, baila abuelo.